This is my second attempt to reach Louisville and survive as a survivor. The biggest city in Project Zomboid has some unique points of interest, and conquering it is a challenge on its own. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this Project Zomboid experience. My spawn was Valley Station, not far from the military checkpoint in Louisville. A few days ago, the news reached everyone that a new illness, the Nox virus, had broken out and was infecting people through the air. Despite the military claiming that they had everything under control, Louisville fell. Time to take it back. In my house, I found a pencil and an eraser to document my story, and the keys for the car in front of the house. After making an improvised bag, I searched for a melee weapon, but no luck. While checking my car, I spotted a police barricade not far from my house. Maybe something useful for later. My own car didn't have any gas. Classic. After watching some TV in the morning, I checked the area around my house and found my first Zeds. I also stole the watch from one of them. He wouldn't need it anymore. After wiping out every neighbor I once knew, I picked up the plunger. Hopefully not for too long, before I found something better. And I could already tell I still needed some practice with killing Zeds. The group at the police barricade had wandered away, so I had time to check them out. Since my own car had no gas, the empty gas can was actually useful. After smashing the window of one of the cars, I found some shotgun shells and a shotgun. I mean, why not? But the 27 rounds were nowhere near enough to kill all the Zeds. That wasn't my plan anyway. My plan was to lure as many Zeds as possible away from the houses and toward the river. After running to the highway, I spotted a sign pointing toward a gas station. If I could just get enough gas to start my car, I could come back later and fill it up completely. After clearing the area, I refilled the gas can. Looking at the time, I decided to stay here for a while, watch some TV, refill my bottle, maybe find something to eat. I switched the TV channel and then did it with the Z laying on the floor. Thanks to my profession, I gained some extra carpentry experience and prepared some food in the kitchen. In one of the cupboards, I found an ice hockey still. Still not ideal, but definitely better than the plunger. I started walking back to my car. Since I'd made noise at the river, most of the Zeds were no longer nearby. I refilled the car, took the TV with me for the evening program, used the rest of the gas and drove to the gas station, and after that, to the warehouse. There, I hope to find some nails and more tools to take with me before entering Louisville through the hole in the fence. But first, it was time for the fishing show. After the episode, I grabbed some accession tools. A knife, a hatchet, wrenches, a hammer, a saw. and some nails, mainly for barricading windows and having option once the water shuts off. It was getting late, but I wanted to enter Louisville today. This time I tried something different, driving through the hole with my car. After a few attempts squeezing through, I finally made it past the checkpoint and onto the highway. I turned right and entered the first residential area. I decided to spend the night in the first house on the corner. I was tired, and fighting the Zeds around the house was getting difficult. Inside, I closed all the curtains, set an alarm, and went to bed. I was in Louisville. The next morning, I experienced the horrors of Louisville. I could hear Zeds everywhere around the house. After catching the cooking show, I rushed outside again and saw the massive horde right next to the house. A house alarm was echoing through the street too, but I couldn't tell exactly which house it was coming from. My priority was the windows. As long as they were intact, I had a safe place to stay and plan my next moves. After a big sip of stew, I realized that the radio had the emergency broadcast frequency. Very nice. I was especially lucky to have 2 survivor homes right next to my current house. Before making my way further into town, I wanted to check them out. Survivor homes are really good places for weapons, magazines, books and food. But it wasn't that easy. There were still a lot of Zeds around. Some were still making their way toward my house. And a huge group was blocking the intersection. But I had an idea. If you can't fight them, lure them away. I drove to the other side of the area, honked and drove back to my house. The horde started moving. Back at the survivor homes, I fought the remaining Zeds. One of the Zeds even had a duffel bag, so I could finally replace my sheet bag. After fighting more Zeds, I spotted one with an even bigger backpack. I'm pretty sure he came from the survivor house, because the bag was filled with useful stuff. I switched bags and immediately became overloaded. I returned home and finally had some time to wash myself. I mean, look at me. And since it was 12 o'clock, I watched the final Woodcraft episode and reached carpentry level 3. So, now it was time to check out the survivor homes. Or not quite yet. There were still too many Zeds outside. After cleaning the nearby urns, I made my way inside. I found a new crowbar, some recycled magazines and more food. In the next house, I found my first gun, more magazines and a poncho. With a poncho, I wouldn't get soaked as quickly when it was raining. I could still work. There's always something to do in situations like this. I returned home, sorted my loot and went into the forest. With the logs laying around, I could turn them into planks and barricade my windows before nightfall. After watching the agriculture show, I finished barricading the windows and collected the corpses outside. But then I realized something. I still hadn't found any matches or lighters, so no fire for now. I read the magazines I found in the 2 survivor houses and went to bed. What a day. My morning started with the cooking show, and after reaching cooking level 2, I loaded everything I had gathered so far into my car. While standing in my kitchen and planning to cook, I realized something. The water had already shut off. That was unlucky. On day 3! I packed everything and drove off. My next goal was the small fire department. I dropped my backpack and started fighting. Fighting this many Zeds on day 3 was exhausting, but after retreating back to the fence, I could handle them. Still, I was completely out of breath. The doors were locked, so I tried to open one of the windows and those damn house alarms. I tried driving around and honking in different directions, hoping to lure most of the Zeds away from the fire department. It kind of worked, but I still had to fight. And hey, every dead Zed is one problem less in this world. After the fight was over, I entered the fire department and started moving my supplies from the car inside. There wasn't a single axe in the entire building. But hey, I found a new t-shirt. After putting the fresh food into the fridge, I went back outside to deal with the remaining Zeds. Many were coming from the residential area, and even more were coming from the shops. I was getting exhausted and tired, but the Zeds didn't stop. At 6 o'clock, I sat down and watched the fishing show. A good time for a break. After that, I walked around the fire department and tried to deal with the stragglers. But the exhaustion started to become a problem. My strength was fading. I sat down and started reading the Maintenance Volume 1 book and tried to stay quiet. But the Zeds kept coming toward me. After a risky fight right in front of my front door, I finally went to sleep. My first night in the fire department. After continuing with the cooking show, I prepared some breakfast and headed to the tool store. I picked up a lot of tools I didn't have yet, and I also needed a lot of nails. Since the water had already shut off, I needed a solution. My plan was to get roof access and build rain barrels. For that, I needed logs for the stairs and planks, nails and garbage bags for the barrels. I also read the Carpentry Volume 3 book I found earlier to level up faster. After reading half of the book, I built the stairs, prepared some dinner and used one of my axes to cut down a tree. The windows needed barricades as well. At around 11 PM, it was time to go to bed. My next step was getting garbage bags. From my previous run, I knew about the small store and the gas station down the road. I was sure I could find garbage bags there. But first, I had to deal with the remaining Zeds on the street. Clearing the street also gave me access to the hunting store. Because I had found the welding mess earlier, I could break in later. The small store still had some fresh fruit inside, although a lot of it already started to go bad. But the main goal was garbage bags. And I found them. After looting the store, I dismantled the metal shutters of the hunting store. But that was for later. First, I wanted to build some rain barrels. 3 barrels would be a good start. Now it was time for the hunting store. And this time I would use the cart to transport the supplies. I found guns, ammunition and some useful magazines. I sorted the guns and the ammunition into their own crates, for one-handed and two-handed weapons. After that, I prepared some food with what I found in the store, read the magazines, washed myself with the remaining water in the sink and connected the rain barrels. Once it rained again, the barrels would fill up, and I could always build more. I was almost cooking level 3, so I could finally skip the daily early morning cooking show. I returned to the hunting store one more time because I forgot to bring a shotgun with me, mainly because of the wait the day before. Since I was already there, I started cleaning the gas station. A lot of Zeds were still there. But after clearing the smaller groups, I entered the store. I found more garbage bags, magazines and finally some matches. I could burn corpses now. I returned home, sorted my loot and went back to the gas station to refuel my car. Even though the water had already shut off, the power was still on. I still had things to do in my neighborhood. There were still a lot of Zeds around. But I wanted to wait until the fog cleared, so I started reading the Aiming Volume 1 book. And oi, there were a lot of Zeds. By using defense during the fight, I could control the situation. But there were still many Zeds left, despite all the killing today. I removed the curtains from one of the houses and added them to my own windows. Right now, Zeds could still see me from the street inside my home. And once the Zed sees you, it will find its way to you. The evening program was still running on TV, so I took a break at home after putting up the sheets. I returned to the houses to get more curtains and check the corpses for keys. And after some cooking late in the evening, I finally reached cooking level 3. I read for the rest of the evening and then went to bed. But tonight, I woke up from a nightmare. More reading for me then. After some breakfast, I went back to the houses. The Zeds just didn't stop coming. After killing the first ones, I found a new cool head. Very nice. I started looting the garages around the area. I didn't really know what I was looking for, but garages are always worth checking out. With some luck, I could find a generator for later. I found some tools, some books, and took the grill with me. Just a few houses further away, another massive fort was waiting for me. But first, I could check out these houses and maybe found something useful. And I found another rifle. Good. This cupboard had some really good loot overall. My bag was full, so I returned home before dealing with the group. One by one, I lured the Zeds to this corner of the fences and dealt with them. But I had the feeling that for every Zed I killed, 2 more were coming. After making sure I wasn't being followed anymore, I checked one of the garages and found a generator. Very nice. I put it on my roof, connected it, and refilled it. Because of the nightmare the previous night, I was already getting tired at around 2 PM. And on top of that, the helicopter showed up. Since I had cleared the surroundings over the previous days, I decided to stay home and hide. But the next day, I would have to deal with the Zeds the helicopter attracted. It started raining on day 8, but I still had to deal with the Zeds outside. Luckily, I found the poncho earlier on day 2. The fight began. After almost 3 hours of non-stop fighting, the streets were clear again. I sat down and started reading the Reloading Volume 1 book. I had a shotgun and plenty of rounds, and I wanted to clear the neighborhood for good. But before going out with my shotgun, I wanted to reach at least reloading level 1. The gun wouldn't jam as often with level 1. Since it kept raining, I stayed home and read, cooked some stews and then kept reading. I went up to the roof one more time to look around and I didn't see any Zeds nearby. I could sleep for now. The rain stopped. I grabbed my shotgun and all the rounds I had and started clearing the nearby streets. The fight was hard and long, but I felt confident. However, after some time, the streets didn't seem to clear out. I even got into a situation where I had maneuvered myself into a corner. Okay, I think I have a problem here. That was a close call. A little too close. After I used all my shotgun rounds, I went back and tried to kill the remaining stragglers with my crowbar, but that didn't go well. My arm was hurting badly from all the shotgun blasts. I went back to one of the intersections because I remembered seeing a Z with a hockey mask and a machete. My 2 crowbars wouldn't last forever, and a machete would be a good alternative. I returned home completely exhausted, washed myself and read while resting. Since I didn't sleep very long the night before, I started getting tired. I cooked a new stew and read the Mechanics Volume 1 book before going to bed. On the next day, it was time to clear the streets again, but it seemed like many Zeds were gone, or dead. I had time to check out more garages. There were still a few stragglers inside the house, but the majority was gone. I found all kinds of useful stuff. Many seed packs, more food and some crafting materials. I continued looting more garages around the neighborhood. My crates were starting to fill up. With the whistle, I tried to lure more Zeds outside and into the streets. And I even found a Zed with a satchel. Now I had a complete set of bags. I looted more garages and found 2 generators. I marked them on the map for now. There was one Zed inside of one of the garages and I didn't want to risk jumping in blind, so both of us destroyed the door together. I was slowly finishing the garages nearby and took one of the better TVs with me. Since the Life and Living program had ended, I still had a lot of VHS tapes I could watch. With this better TV, I was able to watch them. I returned home, sorted my supplies, prepared some sandwiches and read until it got dark. Time for bed. I survived my first 10 days in Louisville.